Welcome to the Between the Pages podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the lost art of family devotions and making it work. Because in today's day and age, it's kind of simple and easy to go, oh, I got to do this and this and this and this, and then the end of the day comes and we use our requirements, per se, for why we didn't do something else. But you can make time, even if it's just 10 minutes, to do a devotion for yourself and then do a devotion for the family.
Yeah, so. That's a good point. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of time. 10 minutes is not much. And, I guess it's all a matter of, what do you consider to be a devotional? Is it some type of study on a particular verse or a theme, or say for instance gratitude or grace or Thanksgiving with the one.
I guess I don't know what devotional actually is. But
well, I mean,
it's like a baby Bible study to me.
Yeah,
It gets you in, but it's not.
That's what I say. It's
some hour-long thing.
Probably means something different to everyone, and so what does that mean? Well, let's just approach it from an engineering point of view, I guess. I don't know if you know this or not, but there are 1,440 minutes in a single day.
Yeah.
And a day begins, it's unusual. I mean, the way a day actually starts is not the way we think it starts. We think it starts at 0, at midnight hour or whatever, 0. And the military, that's like 0:30 is the way they start counting time, or 0:10 or whatever. And so then you move up to 1, 2, 3, excuse me, and then the clock is like a 24-hour clock. And so, but every day has, 1,440 minutes. So it shouldn't be too difficult for you to find 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would subtract from your 1,440 and make it 1,430, which is 143. I love you. And so, if you love yourself, you ought to be able to find time to set aside 10 minutes. Now, granted, 10 minutes is, some of that time is spent working, some of that time is spent, sleeping, eating, taking care of yourself, personal, activities, so on and so forth. But, I guess it may or may not come as a revelation to you, and it may be what I'm about to say is obvious, but everyone within the sound of my voice and everyone who you know has 24 hours in their day. Okay, and so how is it that some people are able to manage their time more effectively? And there's books you can buy on time management and things of that. But in general, I think it comes down to, it's just a matter of your will. Is this something that's important to you? Then you'll set aside the time for it. And, think about the time of the day. Now, some people don't have families, like married, wife, kids, that kind of stuff. They're just, on their own. You can set aside 10 minutes while you're driving to work.
Yeah, listen to it. There's probably somewhere. And that's what I was going to say. If you don't know where you can get a devotion, maybe you don't know where to start, we have one. we try to do one on, but you can find them in plenty of places. You get books on them or audio. I'm sure there's devotions. Maybe we'll get there one day. Podcast devotions.
Yeah, I go look at the devotions that you post on the Facebook page and other.
And I try to make them like a good 5-10 minute read, so that it's enough, and they're like right at sort of kid bedtime. So even you could just integrate it into bedtime routine, you know, so that, or after the kids go to bed, you could still, do it yourself. But doing it with the family matters because it's building the faith foundation in your home.
Yeah, well, I mean, and like you say, it's how you allocate your time.
Yeah.
I mean, if you spend your time watching the news or politics or, sitcoms or television, you're wasting a lot of time doing that because it really doesn't do anything for you. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's important to be informed on current events and to be aware of what's happening so that you can, chart your family course and everything. But at the same time, how much of that do you need to do?
Yeah.
I mean, do you need to watch hours and hours of the latest talking head talking on subjects that you already have an opinion on? And in general, what I found is most people don't want to hear the other point of view, so they're just listening to someone who's telling them what they already want to hear.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing. So that you could probably cut a lot of that out of your daily schedule, and then you'd suddenly have time freed up. The difficult thing for families, what I've found, is getting everybody in the same place at the same time. You know, even
Well,
when
and that's why you want to make it interactive, and for them to ask questions and stuff, and keep it engaging, so that you're not just lecturing them. So you're like, oh, gotta come here so I can tell you this, and then you can go back about it. You want them to be excited about it, so that they're like, oh, when are we gonna do story time or devotion time? So that, and then as they get older, they'll probably not sound like that, but they will have it instilled in them that, oh, we read the Bible every day, we do the devotions every day, and it's not something they have to do. You want to make it something that they want to do.
Right, and so that's the other thing. Do you want to regiment it? Do you want it to be a scheduled thing that occurs at a certain time? Well, sometimes that gets difficult for people, and so, I read a book once about a couple of parents, right or wrong, they let their kids, explore different theological backgrounds, let them read different books, let them experience and explore for themselves, and they just help to guide them. If your child or other family members are doing their own devotional time, well, they may not, but somewhere along the way you will need to set the example, because left to their own devices, children aren't going to develop the daily habit of devotion time.
Yeah.
And so so there's that part of it. I think initially that's probably what you need. You need a schedule and a set time. But as it moves along, say, well, did you have your devotional time today? And then you can say, well, yeah, I did. And this is what. Oh, I hadn't really pondered that. Or you can actually have conversations about the devotion time.
And when you're doing them, you can use stories and different books as part of the devotion, and so that even makes it. You can almost do like book club devotional, where everybody has their own copy of it and do it that way. You can do it any kind of way, but with kids, you want to make it age appropriate. So, like you say, with the older kids, it might be different. They might want to go off and do it their own, or have their own book and stuff. But with little kids, you can have it more interactive, fun, simple, shorter. The shorter to keep their attention, and then you can progressively get longer with it, but also consistency. That's the main thing. Even if it's just 5 minutes a day starting out, especially even if you have older kids that you've never done it, kids are pretty flexible, and so you can integrate it in at any point in time in their life, and they'll be like, oh, this is the thing that we're doing now, that.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm older now, but I probably should have spent a lot more time doing exactly what you're talking about, having more study time and that kind of stuff. But when you're young, there's all the other pursuits of life.
Yeah.
And so you don't spend as much time reading your Bible or reading devotions or that type of thing as you probably should. And so everybody's guilty of that. So it's not like as though you're trying to point out, some kind of shortcoming or anything of that nature. But if you instill that type of behavior early in life, when
it becomes a part of who you are, who your kids are.
Yeah,
what is it? It takes like 20-something days.
21
to
days
be a habit.
to form a habit.
Yeah.
So
that's why it's like the consistency is almost more important than how perfect it is, or how it goes, or anything like that. Or how long it is. As long as they know, every Friday we're going to do devotion time, or every day right after dinner we're going to do devotion time, or every morning when we wake up we're going to do devotion time. Then they know, oh, this is what they do, and they'll start getting in the pattern of, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. And that's a good...
And they'll carry that into life even after...
That's a good point, yeah, because when your children are young, they like you. I mean, when they're little kids, well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that they don't like you now. It's just, well, they got other things to do. And so they want to be, and so you instill that habit when they're young, and then when they're older, parents have a tendency to, at some point or another, become square. That's what our generation calls them. They're squares. They're not like us. They're unusual. They're different. And so, and the same thing happens with the generations today. The parents are old-fashioned, or they're, out of touch, or whatever the phraseology is that they use to describe their parents. And so, but they want to spend less and less time with you, and they want to spend more and more time with their friends. And odds are their friends don't have devotion time in their schedule. So that's something that they're going to continue to put on the back burner. But then eventually, as they get older and mature, they'll come back to that. They'll come back to, oh, I can remember when we used to study this or that. I should develop that habit again.
Well, and the other thing is, I don't know why what you said made me think of this. If you're scared to start out, you're like, well, I'm not good enough. What am I going to teach my kids about? I don't even know about this, because anybody can be anywhere in their biblical learning. Everybody's
spiritual development.
Yeah, everybody's at different stages, and that's totally fine. And there's all the different levels of the spiritual development. But in all of the homeschooling books, because that's what I'm trying to work towards, they just say you just have to be 3 days ahead of your kids. You just have to be 3 days ahead. So you don't have to be a super scholar to be able to teach your kids about God. You just got to be 3 days ahead of them. So even if you read it on Monday and you learn about it so that you can answer their questions that they're going to ask you, you just have to be 3 days ahead of them. So if you want to start out just doing it on Wednesday and doing it 1 day a week, it's still something. Anything small is better than nothing.
Your kids are going to kind of communicate to you the subject matter, if you will. I mean, like right now with your daughter, you're working on boundaries.
Yeah.
And you're working on treating others as you would like to be treated. And you're working on no as a line, that kind of thing. Well, those are good devotional things, I mean, God does the same thing. He tells us no. He sets boundaries. He does, and so those are all areas that you can communicate to your children. And so just pick out whatever it is you're kind of dealing with at the time and look at it from a biblical point of view. I mean, and go from there.
Yep. Well, there's hundreds of different ways to do it.
Yeah.
Because even, I think a lot of, kids' books for the Bible are more focused on all the stories, too. And there's all the different stories in the Bible, so you can do it any kind of way.
The good part about our stories is that they eventually have a moral truth to them that gets revealed, some biblical principle or something of that nature that can be fun to talk about. Okay, well, and that's what I like about the Fun Friday Kids Corner thing. Well, how do you feel about this? Or, when you do the devotional aspects of the newsletter, questions you can ask your kids, and so the newsletter's free. Just go download a copy of it, and
And we're working on getting all of the books to have the discussion guide. We got the Rosie and Jemima Jope. We have them, and I'll put them on the website once I get them. But then you can look at the books, and the books have a discussion guide that goes along with them to, help come up with questions if you don't know yourself, because you just got to be 3 days ahead of your kids, okay? You don't have to be much smarter, just 3 days ahead.
Yeah, pretty soon they'll be ahead of you. They'll figure that out. But the fun part about the discussion guide, and I agree, Jemima Jope does need kind of translation, magic decoder ring, if you will, or something, because it's...
And that's the Deeper Meanings Guide.
Yeah, she's a child of the 60s, and so... because she's a child of the 60s, there's a lot of 60s type slang, if you will, that people just don't understand. So it helped. That discussion guide is helpful in that respect.
Well, one day we'll do a podcast on the Deeper Meanings Guide and the discussion guides.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure everybody would be waiting with a bated breath. Oh, well, I can't wait for that to happen. But yeah, that would be a good topic.
Well, and actually, these are age appropriate questions if you're, to ask your kids. So this is specifically on Jemima Jope, but just you can hear how they change, and you can use Google to help you how to talk to your kids at this age. But, is it not here? You can talk. I thought I had it in age groups. Yeah. Okay, so the biblical connections by age 3 to 6, focuses on like friendship and loyalty. That's a simple topic. Ages 7 to 10, explore the themes of loss and acceptance. Discuss Philippians 4:13, strength through Christ. Those are, a little bit more in depth. And ages 11 to 15, explore deeper meanings of grief, restoration, connection of the Ecclesiastes 3:4, times and seasons, discuss nonlinear grief journey. So you can see how even in the books, it's one book, one book. But the Bible's one book, but you can look at it from a simpler, more intermediate, and more, what's after intermediate? Advanced version of questions that you can bring in. And you can, come up with something prior to that.
Well, that's the thing, too. When you're writing the book, that's what we try to attempt to do, is look at it from different perspectives.
Yeah.
Look at it from a child's point of view, which is basically pictures, and rhyming words, phonics, if you will. But then an older child might look at it differently and see some of the symbology that's contained in the illustrations and begin to question that and look for interpretation of that. But at the same time, it's for the adult to kind of like look at, this is what this book communicates, a greater theme, if you will, a good, a moral truth, and to communicate that to your children. So the books are written from multiple perspectives, and so the discussion guide attempts to break that down a little bit better by age bracket, by age group, the child or the children or the kids or whatever, and provide a little bit more in-depth study, if you will. So,
See you next time. Like, subscribe, and share.
See ya.